back at Online Marketing TV with Todd Wilms. Todd, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me.
So give us a little background, who you are and what you're all about.
Sure. So I'm part of one of the greater social media teams at SAP.
Yep.
SAP, as you know, 53,000 employees, 128 countries around the world. So we have a vested interest in social media, and we have a wide group of people that are all engaged in helping SAP come to market through social.
Got it. And so your mission at SAP is to...
Well, we've got a couple of different missions, right? I mean, we've got all these different products and solutions, and so we're trying to reach audiences on different levels.
But yours particularly, what is your mission within SAP?
Yeah, so mine is to sit down and work with the 47 different products and solutions around the globe and help those people become better at social media. So it's a small team. We've only got 4 or 5 people, and if we were to try and do that and scale it, we'd have a team of about 600. Right. So the way that we go about that is we try and create best practices. We get in deep, we work with teams, we help them develop their social skills, and then we complement those with playbooks and centers of excellence, and then I go out and speak at different conferences and get to hear what other people are doing, bring that back in-house, and make it all better for everybody.
Cool. Love it. So you're kind of the educator, the best practice implementer, and the maybe standard bearer for social at SAP. Yeah?
Absolutely, yeah.
Love it. Great. So let's talk a little
standard bearer, I'm going to use that.
Yeah, there you go.
Nice.
You carry the torch of social.
Yeah, absolutely.
So easy to talk about all the great things you're doing at SAP when it comes to social. Talk to me about the things you just aren't doing so well and that you need to get better at, and what your plans are to fix those things.
Right. Well, it's one of the things I actually talked about in one of the sessions that I gave this morning. It's really about the cultural shift, right? So social media is not a marketing tactic, it's a cultural phenomenon, right? And if we look at social media as how companies should be using it, it should be something that permeates the entire organization, the entire infrastructure. Now, for a small company, if you're talking about 5 people, you've only got 4 people to convince. And that in and of itself can be difficult. You think about 53,000 people in all those different languages around the globe, and they're all coming at it from a different perspective. Getting all of those people to think about social the way you do and have that same fire in your belly, that same passion for it, is really challenging. So the thing that we always struggle with is how do we bring people along with us, right? It's not just 4 or 5 people trying to pull you like a big glacier, right? It's how do we get people along the lines to start getting and thinking about social the same way we do. So it's not so much it's a problem, it's just a natural evolution and trying to get better and better and better with it as we go along.
Cool, love it. So let's get into the harder parts of social, right? Because we all still are very challenged in measuring everything in marketing, but social still seems to be particularly difficult about how it's pushing the ball forward. We know we need to do it. We know it's getting the brand out there.
Absolutely.
We know we're getting more engagement, but what are the metrics you guys are looking at to understand that, yeah, this is working and maybe this isn't, we need to take a different path?
Right. You know, the places we've run into problems is we've tried to do a one-size-fits-all, right, where you just come in and say, we're going to measure all social by likes, we're going to measure it by comments, et cetera. What we started to do is we sit back at the very beginning when we're developing our strategies with these teams, and we come up with the goals that we want to measure, or we want to measure as we set as goals at the very beginning. So one of the things we'll do is if a team wants to look at just reach, right, we'll set up the goals and metrics that we want to measure at that point, and then we'll evolve those over time. So we try and, I don't know, do ready, aim, fire instead of ready, fire, aim, which is what most organizations end up doing.
Yep. So what are some of the new things you guys are experimenting with that would be on the verge of maybe ready, fire, aim, but just kind of pushing the envelope to try to get a sense for what's worth your time?
Right. So I think one of the things we've tried to do is, everyone approaches social from a very democratized standpoint. Everyone's equal in social size. Right. And what we decided to do is say we can't invest in the same way in all people across all channels, across all parts of the organization.
Dictatorial social media, huh? Dictatorship of social.
Well, you know it, baby. Yeah. Well, I know we like to laugh about it, but it's, limited resources. Everyone has a difficult time in trying to make sure that, you're giving the right attention to people that really deserve it. So we've started to come up with some ways to look at how do we invest in specific people across the infrastructure? How do we make them ambassadors? How do we give them the right tools and technologies that they can then go in and become torchbearers for their respective areas?
Are you identifying the influencers outside of the organization too and spending more time courting them, or is that part of the strategy as well?
Yeah, absolutely. I think SAP's always done a really good job of dealing and interacting with influencers and bringing those people into the fold. We have huge influencer summits. We work with people that are very positive. We also work with people that are detractors, and try and engage and have conversation with them. That's the one really nice thing about social media is, even if someone's a detractor, even if someone is saying something that you don't particularly like about your brand, at least you've got the ability through social to hear what they're saying and to react accordingly. Before, they could be saying all sorts of negative things about you. You never had the opportunity to interact with them. There's only a very limited number of people that could do so. Now they're very public about it, and you can come in and respond accordingly. You may not like what they have to say, but at least you can interact with them and help change their behavior even just a little bit.
Got it. So if I caught you in the beginning when you were talking about what you do, you have a global reach when it comes to social media strategy for SAP, and SAP is a very big global company. What are the local nuances you found to be just interesting and representative of how we need to think? Like, what are you doing in, say, Shanghai versus even Hong Kong, right? Let alone Shanghai versus Germany, and how does that all impact kind of the thought process to unify this social strategy under one kind of set of standards?
No, it's really good. I think one of the things we've run into is if you try and do a kind of US-centric approach and then say, well, just take that and roll that strategy, that process, that program out and do it across the globe, you're going to run into those cultural nuances. Right? So one of the things we learned is if you go and run a program, even if it's an event or a world tour in Turkey, and you put stuff on YouTube, well, YouTube's blocked. It has to be Vimeo. And most people don't realize that. So if you develop a YouTube strategy in that particular area of the world, you're going to fall short.
Kind of like your Twitter strategy in China, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely, right?
Good luck on that one,
yeah,
right?
Exactly. And I think that, most people know that by now and they realize that there's a nuance, but they don't, they look at like China and then there's the rest of the world. And what we've looked at is said, we may do a lot of tweeting here in the US, but it's not as endemic and in the same way as it is in Europe. We blog about business issues here in the US, but in Europe they tend to blog more about personal issues. And those cultural nuances, they may be stereotypes, but those cultural nuances really play into how you develop a social program.
So I got a question. I didn't plan on this one, but China particularly, it's a really, it's always scary when I'm going that thought process. Don't worry, we're not going about your socks yet.
We'll talk about those later.
That's right. But China, everybody's fascinated with, right? Because just the size and the internet population there has already surpassed the US, right? So there's a lot of potential, a lot of marketing dollars that can be flooded in. What are some of the nuances on social that you've learned, whether it be on, Sina, Weibo, Renren, any of the other things you might be able to share that, you've learned from in trying to figure out the Chinese market and what the nuances are as it relates, obviously, to social media?
Yeah. So the couple of things that we learned is, again, it goes back to the same answer before. Don't try and force Western ideas on an Eastern culture or on a culture that you may not understand. So we've gone in, when we've done events, we've done programs, we've done interactions there, we use on-the-ground resources, we use local teams to help us. We come in with a strategy and idea of what we want to accomplish, but we let those people really help steer, guide us so that we've got those feet on the street to help localize the effort. And then the last thing is we speak in the local language. So if you come in and say, well, we're going to speak in English because the world understands English, you've already missed a vast majority of your populace. So when you come in and you kind of meet with those local cultural norms and local cultural standards and develop those programs, you've got to win almost right off the bat.
Got it. So you have more feet on the street locally to help you guide that strategy as opposed to just guiding it from corporate headquarters. Is that a fair way to look at it?
Yeah, absolutely.
With that, thanks for joining us on the show, and we'll hope to see you back soon.
Yeah, thanks for having me.